Arrival. The old woman stands on the hilltop at the edge of the woods, well hidden from the farmhouse below, just as she did before, but now it's dark. Cold night, lit by the moon. All around her, bushes and branches rattle in a wind that carries autumn's breath. But she isn't cold. She leans on her staff and peers toward the road. They're coming, she calls to her companion. He snorts and continues snuffling about in the dead leaves for good things to eat. Headlights bounce down the driveway. A big car stops by the house. Even in the dark, a person can see that it's a ramshackle wreck of a place, ready to topple with the first strong wind that comes its way. The doors open and the interior lights come on. She sees the girl, just the one she needs. The child gets out, clutching a dolly. The old woman sniffs fear. The girl is scared of the dark and the old house. She doesn't want to live here. Well, she won't live here long, will she? The girl's name is blown by the wind across the dark field and laid at the old woman's feet. Erica. She likes to draw the name out, especially the last syllable. Erica, Erica, the old woman whispers. The name glides lightly through the air, a rustle of black silk thread, and winds itself into the girl's ear. She sees the girl tense and look around, move closer to her mother. Yes, the old woman hisses, you'll do, Erica, Erica. She does one of her little jigs and calls to her companion. Time to go, dear boy. We'll see her soon, don't you worry. She's the one. She's ours. As the family enters their new home, the old woman and her companion wrap themselves in darkness and make their way home. Chapter 2. While we waited on the porch, Dad fished a big old-fashioned key out of his pocket. With a lot of effort, he finally got it to turn in the lock. Moonlight followed us inside and cast our shadows across the dusty floor. In front of us, stairs led to the second story. Mom flicked a switch and the shadows fled. To the right was the living room, or maybe the parlor, empty now except for a fireplace. 3 tall windows with old-fashioned wavy glass reflected us standing in the hall, slightly distorted like people in a funhouse. Where's our furniture? Erica asked. It's coming tomorrow, Mom told her. But where are we sleeping? She asked, sounding a bit tearful. Don't you remember? Dad asked. We brought our camping stuff, sleeping bags, foam mats, pillows, blankets. Can I sleep with Mommy? Of course you can. Mom put her arm around Erica and hugged her. I was getting pretty tired of Erica's clinging behavior. What's wrong with you? I whispered. You never used to act like this. I never had to live in the woods before, she turned to Mom. Are we going to eat wild berries? Of course not, sweetie, Dad said. Whatever gave you that idea? That's what happens sometimes in stories. Well, this isn't a story, Erica, Mom said. Dad got an ancient gas stove going and Mom heated a pot of water. When it boiled, she dumped in noodles and heated a jar of marinara sauce. We ate our first meal in the house, picnic style, in front of the fire. Erica snuggled beside Mom and shared her food with little Erica. The food stuck to the doll's face, and Erica tenderly wiped her clean with a napkin. Later, we all crawled into our sleeping bags and watched what was left of the fire fall into ash. The lights were out, and the moon shone in through the tall windows. I heard Erica whispering to the doll. Sometime during the night, I woke up. I drank too much soda at dinner, and now I needed the bathroom. I eased out of my sleeping bag and got to my feet. Dad snored, Mom slept like a dead woman, and Erica murmured as if she were dreaming. I tiptoed across the floor and eased the front door open. It was easier to pee outside than find my way upstairs to the bathroom. The moonlight was brilliant and the stars were clustered thickly over my head, more than I'd ever seen in Fairfield. After I finished what I came out to do, I stood on the porch and gazed at the dark mass of woods bordering the fields. The night was cold, but as I turned to go inside, I was stopped by a sound in the darkness. A howl, which might have been the wind in the trees, but was scarier, much scarier. I shivered and edged toward the door, but before I stepped inside, I looked back. Something moved at the edge of the woods. Its head gleamed in the moonlight as white as bone. I heard the howl again this time, louder this time, and stumbled backward, slamming and bolting the door. Daniel, Mom called sleepily, what are you doing up in the middle of the night? I went outside to pee. Something in the woods howled. I slid into my sleeping bed, shivering with cold and fear. Shh, she whispered. You'll wake up Dad and Erica. Didn't you hear it? She shook her head. It was probably an owl or a fox. No, I saw it, I told her. It was as tall as a man, and its head shone in the moonlight. Mom smoothed my hair. Go back to sleep, Daniel. There's nothing out there. It's dark. You're in a strange place, and your eyes were playing tricks on you. I moved a little closer to her. Maybe she was right. She must be right. Monsters didn't roam the woods anywhere but in fairy tales. I closed my eyes and practiced breathing slowly and deeply, but it was almost daylight by the time I fell asleep. When I woke up, sunlight filled the living room. Just as Mom had said, whatever I'd heard and seen in the dark had a natural explanation. Night noises, most likely animals going about their nocturnal business, embellished with my imagination. Moonlight and shadows play tricks on you. The moving truck arrived before we'd finished breakfast, and Mom put us all to work. We picked our bedrooms first. Mine overlooked the woods, which were not quite as close to the house as I'd thought the night before, but close enough for me to see a deer pause at the edge of the trees and then vanish into the shadows. The lawns in Connecticut were overrun with deer, but this was a wild deer, and therefore more noble than the ones who ate our shrubbery and our flowers and the vegetables Mom tried to grow. Erica's room was across the hall from mine at the front of the house. Mom and Dad were next to her. The bedroom beside mine was reserved for Dad. His office, he called it. At the end of the hall was a small room, probably a sewing room, Mom said, or a nursery. She claimed it for her weaving. The loom will fit just right under the window, she said. The moving men spent most of the day tramping around the house, upstairs and down, putting furniture where Mom told them to. When they finally drove away, Mom gave us our next tasks: unpack our clothes and belongings and put them away. I finished first and stopped in Erica's room to see how she was doing. Her clothes lay in a heap on her unmade bed. Her boxes of toys and books sat in the middle of the floor where the moving men had left them, still taped shut. Erica sat on a window seat, her back to me. She held little Erica. We don't like it here, Erica whispered to the doll. It's a bad, scary place, no matter what they say. You and I know, but nobody believes us. Little Erica had nothing to say that I could hear, but my sister bent her head close to the doll, as if she were listening to her. Yes, she murmured. Yes. I hated to interrupt the weird conversation, but I stepped into the room and said, Mom told you to put your stuff away, but you haven't even started. Erica whirled around. Her red hair swung like a flag, and so did the doll's. I'm never going to put anything away until we go home. This is home now. I picked up a box labeled socks and underwear and pried off the tape. I'll help you. Leave my things alone, Erica laid the doll down and snatched the box away. Get out of my room, Daniel. We don't want you here. What's going on? Mom stood in the doorway. I was trying to help her unpack. I don't want him to help, Erica said. I'm leaving everything just like this until we go home. Honey, you are home. Mom tried to hug her, but she pulled away. Home is Connecticut, Erica whispered. Not here. Mom made a gesture toward the door. Leave this to me, Daniel. As they left the room, Mom shut the door. I lingered in the hall for a moment. Mom was talking softly. Erica was crying. I found Dad in the basement in front of a huge furnace that looked like something you'd find on the Nautilus, all dials and levers and doors and pipes. A submarine engine only Captain Nemo understood. Steampunk in every way. Let me see, Dad mused. It's September. Hopefully I'll have time to figure out how this monster works before we need it. I pictured a long, cold winter with the four of us huddled around the fireplace to keep warm. Or maybe I can call somebody from the oil company, Dad went on, and he can explain it to me. We stood side by side and looked around the basement. It was dark and dank and musty. The ceiling was so low, Dad could barely stand up straight. Pipes festooned with cobwebs hung even lower. The only light was a bare bulb hanging by a cord from a crossbeam. The floor was dirt, the walls stone. The damp air smelled as if it had been trapped down here since the house was built. Once I establish myself as a photographer, Dad said, we'll fix this basement up, replace the furnace with something new that I can understand, put in some windows, maybe a sliding glass door. I could even build a dark room and get out my old film cameras. While Dad was picturing a dark room and sliding glass doors, I was imagining a murderer carrying his victims down the steep, rickety steps and digging graves in the dirt floor. I'm going outside, I told Dad. I could use some fresh air. Leaving him poking around in the junk pile in every corner, I found Mom at the kitchen table, busy sorting napkins and tablecloths. Erica was sitting near her, reading Bedtime for Francis to little Erica. Neither of them noticed me, so I slipped out the back door to do some exploring. The house looked even worse in daylight. Peeling paint exposed bare gray wood, a gutter dangled from the eaves, and a downspout lay in the weeds. Judging by the number of shingles I saw on the ground, the roof probably leaked. The porch floorboards were warped, the railing was loose, and the steps tilted to one side. Behind the house, I discovered a small, tumble-down barn, almost hidden under a tangle of wild grapevines, honeysuckle, poison ivy, and brambles. All around it grew a jungle of pokeberry weeds taller than I was. Poisonous berries hung from the red stalks in black clusters like grapes. Sticking up from the weeds were two doorless refrigerators, an old plow, an ancient Ford pickup truck, several rusted air conditioners, and a mildewed sofa. The town dump, I thought, right in our own backyard. What were Dad and Mom thinking when they bought this place? Had they lost their minds? We'd never get the house fixed up, let alone clear the junk out. I felt like packing my belongings and siding with Erica. Maybe between the two of us, we could persuade Mom and Dad to go back to Connecticut.